Where to begin? I've been trying to think long and hard before committing anything to this entry. However, as events over the past few months have been moving in a very dramatic fashion, I thought I would try and make a review entry of where we are right now, from my point of view. As a starting point, I'm going to go back to December 2020. As going back any further would just get very messy and take way too long to be a video people would actually listen to. There may be more prior context to add further along, but I will try to keep that to a minimum. Notice the word try there. This will necessitate leaving out other chunks though, so this video will not focus on the whole fishing waters thing or Fluhan vacation programs. As most people who have been watching know, in December 2020 the Brexit leave deadline was finally crossed. The UK became an entity separate from the EU SSR, with the latter very reluctantly stating trade terms and almost agreeing to them. I say almost, but not quite, as the hive mind of the EU wanted each lobe to inspect the agreement in its usual efficient way, meaning the EU took almost 5 months to rubber stamp this. In the intervening time, the different members of the EU tried to do their best to make things as difficult as possible for all parts of the UK. However, in this video, as I stated previously, I will be focusing on the Northern Ireland situation. Northern Ireland was one of the biggest sticking points of the Brexit deal, being separate from the mainland and with a border with Germany. I meant the Republic of Ireland. During the 5-year negotiations, well, technically this also stretched back before this, as this was brought up during the Brexit debate. The EU manufactured a bogeyman, that there had to be a very hard border between the UK and all of the EU. So if there was no hard border between Northern Ireland, legally recognised British territory, and the Republic of Ireland, Germany's lackeys, there would be some kind of hell to pay. Conversely, the argument continued, you cannot create a hard border between the two, or the IRA would pop back up again and start mowing down the population. This was of course a bandwagon jumped upon by Ramoners and rejoiners everywhere, or as I like to call them, the treason cast. In reality, this was a bullshit argument followed up by a really not so veiled threat that if Brexit happened, then Sinn Féin were going to get massive EU funding to further their cause. This point was directly debated in the British Parliament, and I have a clip of this here.
Thank you, Mr Verhofstadt, for coming in. It is enormously courteous of you to come to the UK Parliament, and it's been easy to persuade you to come with some officials of Her Majesty's government, so thank you very much for being here. And my apologies for being late. I was asked to see the whips about some of today's business on the meaningful vote. I want to follow up on one of Mr Wilson's questions on the Irish border, to get your view on what would happen in the event of no deal. If the UK did not put up a border, would the European Union require Ireland to put up a border?
Yeah, in the case of a no deal, then automatically there will be a border. Eh?
Well, the UK has made it clear it won't put up a border. But the UK has made it clear it won't put up a border. We'll have no physical infrastructure.
They have said in the beginning a small border.
But the EU...
There's a border, a small border.
Well, there's a border already, but the EU would, under those circumstances, put up a physical border. Is that correct?
But we want, in any way, to avoid it.
Yeah.
Our basic principle is we don't want it. That's also the reason why we want an agreement.
Yes.
and you prepare yourself always for the worst scenario, but that is not our thinking for the moment,
No.
and we want to avoid it in any circumstances. And so
But are you
this
saying...
is all. So say, yeah, but what are you going to do when this is happening and this is happening? That is not the way we are working in, because that should be a very bad a bad starting point for the negotiations.
But that's exactly what's being done by the attempt to draw backstops. It's saying what will happen in
The
the event...
backstop.
The backstop, the whole point of a backstop is what happens in the event that things don't happen.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to establish is that in the event of no agreement, which is not impossible, and the UK does not put up a physical border, will the EU insist that Ireland puts up a physical border?
Well, automatically then there is a border. The question is that we prefer the backstop option in that case.
Okay.
Maybe you can, to avoid a border from your side, then accept the backstop option. That could be also...
No, we can avoid a border unilaterally. We can simply say we're not going to put up a physical border.
Yeah, okay, but you
And
could
then,
also...
and then would the EU insist that the Republic of Ireland did?
No.
Because if you wouldn't, then the whole issue's gone away, because if you're not insisting on a hard border,
No, we
we're
won't.
not going to insist on a hard border, who is the magical
Yeah.
person insisting on a hard border?
Yeah, but there will be still not regulatory alignment, for example, between the north and south. So we will have to deal with that problem.
Yes, but would
That's the
you-
reason why it is absolutely to avoid that we have no deal.
No, there's a
That's
choice.
to for you unilaterally and for us not only unilaterally, to avoid that we need to do something what we don't want to do.
But you would have a choice not to impose a physical border in the event
No,
of
we have no
agreement.
choice. The border is the
Okay,
outer.
so you would have no choice. So why...
The rules are the rules. We cannot change the rules. So, but we want to avoid that we have to apply that, and that is the reason why you have, or no, Mrs. May, and in this interview has be in agreement with the backstop. So for us, if there is no, the backstop assures that we have no hard border to install, because the backstop avoid a hard border and makes that there is regulatory alignment and customs arrangements as they exist today between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic.
Thank you. What you said is extremely important. You've said that the EU would insist on a hard border with no agreement because the rules are the rules. But the EU, when it suited it, has not always stuck to that position, has it?
Sorry?
Well, I seem to remember that the Maastricht Treaty has a no bailout clause for countries that get into trouble in the euro. But when it suited the European Union, the rules weren't the rules, were they? The rules were adjusted to meet the requirements of the time.
No, I should
So
not-
why are you so solid about the rules being
I should
rules
not
now?
say that that we all the time change the rules. That's not true. The Stability Pact and Growth Pact rules are fully applied, but inside these rules there of the Stability and Growth Pact, there is a power competence for the European Commission to say when they are launched. We have done it. We have launched procedures against member states, even big member states, based on the Growth and Stability Pact for excessive deficit procedure. It's not true that we don't apply the rules.
So the rules were fully applied, were they? So just remind me, what was Italy's debt to GDP ratio when it joined the euro with these fully applied rules? Did it meet the Maastricht
Too
criteria?
high, but they have been put also under procedures that were
But it
foreseen.
didn't meet the rules, did it?
No, sorry.
No. So the rules were flexed. So the rules are the rules when the EU wants them to be the rules, and therefore it's saying these will be the rules because we want to impose a hard border. But the rules could be flexed in this area because, as you said in one of your earlier answers,
The
you
flexibility.
represent a lawmaking body.
There is more the flexibility that has been used inside towards deficits and public debts towards countries of the Eurozone were possibilities that were foreseen in the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact. The Commission didn't go outside the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact. They have used the flexibility foreseen in the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact.
These were the rules to join in the first place, which were much clearer. The Stability and Growth Pact does have an ability not to fine countries, And as you will, of course, remember, when Germany broke the deficit level, its fine was remitted. So there is a flexibility in rules.
In the Stability and Growth Pact, there is a flexibility. And this flexibility has been extended now in the latest changes of the Stability and Growth Pact.
There was no flexibility in the no bailout clause. That was absolutely clear in the Maastricht Treaty.
Yeah, but
and then it was done through something that was meant to be there for natural disasters.
Yeah, well, what is now your point, that we are too flexible in the Growth and Stability Pact in a currency union where you're not part of it?
No, my point is that you say to us that the rules are the rules and they must be applied, but I'm telling you that there is considerable evidence that the EU does not apply the rules when it's not in its interest to.
If you think that a country is not following the rules, or that the European Union is not following the rules, there is always the court. And you can go to court and say the European Union doesn't apply its own rules, and the European Union can be condemned to do so. That's a rule-based system. And that is exactly what we have in the Union. And the difficulty of this negotiation is a little bit the lack of recognition from one side that it is a rule-based system, that we cannot invent a relationship or partnership that go against these rules.
It's a rules-based system when it suits the European Union, and amazingly flexible when it doesn't.
True. That's not true.
It's perfectly true.
I have a lot of criticism towards the European Union, but you cannot say, oh yeah, there's a system that adapts itself when it suits one or other big member state, I presume.
So did the Maastricht Treaty allow for bailouts?
The Maastricht Treaty said a lot of things, and this Maastricht Treaty, I can tell you, I lived it as a Prime Minister of Belgium, has obliged us to do, for example, the 60% I'm talking now about debt, to do enormous efforts. So it's rule-based.
It said no bailouts, and that was overridden. The point is very simple. The EU makes rules, and it can make rules to suit circumstances if it chooses to. But by a voluntary decision, it is choosing to say that its rules are sacrosanct, when in other areas it's been much more flexible, and that this ought to be a part of a sensible negotiation rather than the EU simply saying, we will stick to rules which we haven't done in the past.
Now, we stick to a rule-based system, and we will not undo this rule-based system with an ECJ who has the oversight of all this. During this negotiation,
in this negotiation, but it's been done
in this negotiation, like in other negotiations, like in any negotiation that the European Union has with another country.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
In the end, the Northern Ireland Protocol, or the NIP, was created. This compromise stated that Northern Ireland would remain within the EU, and therefore would negate this hard border argument the EU had manufactured. However, it would require customs checks for all products entering into Northern Ireland from the UK. Their reasoning was that something from the UK might slip into the Republic and contaminate the EU as a whole if these checks did not take place. In essence, there were no problems with anything coming from the Republic of Ireland to the north, but anything coming from mainland Britain to Northern Ireland was considered suspect. This agreement was made under the subtext of appeasing those psychotic IRA guys, and therefore, quote-unquote, protecting the Good Friday Agreement. However, the agreement completely ignores the other side of the Northern Ireland equation. In creating a barrier between the UK mainland and Northern Ireland, this has pissed off the Protestant paramilitary side. So much so that in March, a large group of the Loyalist paramilitary withdrew from the aforementioned Good Friday Agreement. At this point, I want to make very clear statements. 1. I object to violence and reject it as a legitimate political tool. 2. I'm Catholic. 3. I voted for the Good Friday Agreement to be rid of violence from all sides. 4. The violence witnessed over the past few months in Northern Ireland was wrong. With those statements made, I have to recognise that a large portion of the Protestant community in Northern Ireland is angry, and in my opinion, They have a right to be angry. So let me back that statement up with evidence. The Brexit deadline was crossed by January 2021. Since that time, the EU have been dicking around deciding whether they want the UK trade money, while simultaneously being horrendously draconian with all the checks they started to perform. Oh, I understand, the UK is out of the EU, and therefore we do not have a common market, but the checks being imposed were absurdly unreasonable. Case in point, the UK government wanted to ensure that Northern Ireland grocery shelves were continually stocked with sufficient supplies of food, and chemists could maintain drug supplies from transports from the mainland UK. To accomplish this, the government made the decision to delay customs checks for goods being transported to Northern Ireland, i.e., they made a responsible decision to look after their citizens. For this, they were publicly castigated by the EU and are being dragged to court claiming the UK breached an agreement that the EU had not even agreed to yet. I have been scanning letter sections in Northern Irish newspapers, and there is an underlying repeating message that is being ignored to the detriment of all here. There is a large group in the Northern Ireland Protestant population that feel they are being abandoned and that they are being challenged. Rightly or wrongly, the Protestant community see that the Good Friday Agreement benefited Sinn Féin IRA, for example by freeing the murderers, but had no real tangible benefit to them. Recently, this apparent favoritism came to a head whenever in June 2020, 24 senior Sinn Féin politicians, including the Sinn Féin party leader, attended a funeral service of a senior IRA lieutenant along with over 1,000 other IRA supporters at the height of lockdown. This was at a time whenever all the rest of us were confined to 10 people maximum at a funeral, including the person conducting the funeral. So you can imagine how it outraged a certain section of the community when the decision was made not to prosecute the infraction. Do not get me wrong, I do think the lockdown is BS, but the government officials who make the rules should not be above the rules. In fact, they should be held to a higher standard. This combination of events joined up with the lockdown insanity and the residual anger that is still present in Northern Ireland. The result of this was, sadly, an echo of the past. Protests turning to riots, turning to violence. I had hoped we had moved beyond the time of Molotovs and rubber bullets, but at this point in time, I understand the viewpoint from the Protestant community side, while still condemning the actions. It upset me when I heard the report of a bomb being found under a police officer's car just a couple of weeks ago. This is a past I voted to be rid of. You have to laugh at the irony though. A protocol the EU called for to prevent the destruction of the Good Friday Agreement appears to be almost directly leading to its opposite goal. Slán.